Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mary here at E3 2016, and I am here with Andreas Suika from Dedalic Entertainment. How's it going?
Great show so far.
Yeah, it's been a really good E3, and you guys are in for a treat right now because we're about to show you The Long Journey Home, which is actually, we can summarize it as a space exploration RPG, but there's a lot more to it, isn't there?
Yeah, actually it's highly inspired by Star Control 2, which was already a game hard to explain. In our game, you choose 4 out of 10 characters, and you make the first light jump on mankind. It goes wrong, and you try to figure out your way home through a procedurally generated universe. And there you meet really strange aliens, and you try to make friends.
All right, so let's just jump right into it right now, and explain exactly what you're even doing to get into the game itself.
Okay, so at the beginning you can choose between different ships like that, and you can choose between different landers because you can land on all planets, and then you choose characters. So I do that quite quick here because I go into it when we demo the game. So I just choose 4 of them. So the first thing I personally think is really neat is you can enter a code here, and that generates a galaxy. So you can tell the code to a friend. So we can do that. Game.
That way you guys can actually be in the same world because it's actually generating a unique world for you.
Yeah, but it's a single player game, so it's really like you just can tell your friend and then you can play the same thing because it's picking all the alien races and all the procedure generated stuff is picked out of this seed. Yeah, so you can try to play the same again with different crew, or you can tell your friend where you got stuck and he can try. Yeah, that's the basic idea.
That's amazing. And now how many seeds can be generated?
Oh, actually, it's up to you. You just enter the code. That's I cannot really tell how much that is, so it really depends a little bit on what's picked. So.
Now, you did mention that this was a rogue-like, and that's also shown by the procedural generation. What else makes this more of a rogue-like?
So what's really important for us that you make, I think a good game is about making interesting decisions. I was doing strategy games for several years at Ubisoft, and if you make a game about decisions, it has to matter. So we pick that you you make a choice and you cannot go back and then say, oh, I didn't like the outcome, the consequences. So we have this kind of permadeath and only one save game thing.
And once you die, what happens to the seed?
Oh, you can start again with the same seed and then try again, but maybe with other crew.
But now it is permadeath, so you lose everything?
You lose everything for that run, yeah.
Now, tell me more. I find it really fascinating, Andreas, that you actually have 15 years Ubisoft. You were a creative director of some pretty big games.
Yeah, it was Settlers. It's quite big, and I know there are big brands in Germany, not so well known outside of Germany, so they are city building games. Yeah, and there were bigger teams, and now we are only 8 people, and some of them came with me from Ubisoft, and yeah, now we're doing that.
You pulled some crew to make a small ragtag team of developers working on this game, then?
Yeah, and some externals, like we have a really good audio composer. It's Kai Rosenkrantz. He was doing music for Gothic, which is also a nice RPG. And yeah, so we are only 8 people. Or we have Richard Gobbett. He's our writer. He's from the UK. But beside that, we are a small team, so 8 plus 2.
So tell me what's going on right now. What are you doing right now in the world?
So from the story point of view, we are already at the other side of the galaxy, and this is a procedurally generated planet, and our event system is taking care that interesting stuff is happening. So here, for example, is a ruin, and I just find an ancient carving here. I can take it, but that's already a decision, because if I take a relict for a race that's and flying around with it and meet that race, it might really hate that. But I take it anyway for the presentation. So currently I'm going up to space, to the orbit, and dock on my big ship to show you what we can do with the relict.
So I've seen in some of the descriptions that you guys have had a lot of inspirations, both from games, but also stories or shows. I've seen that Firefly is an inspiration to you. How are those types of things like Firefly, how do you see that in this game?
So Firefly is clearly with a crew, but its Farscape is really a strong influence. Not many people know that anymore, but it was a very, very good TV show with really strange aliens. We are more in the universe of Fifth Element, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, so a little bit more nitty-gritty kind of universe. Yeah, that's it.
So here's your crew right now, and you can actually see their health meters. So what are you doing in this area?
So currently here, that's really the heart of the game. So for this run, I picked, for example, Nikolai. He's Russian researcher. He's one of the guys who invented the jump drive. That's the reason why everybody is complaining at the beginning when you pick him. Or we have Kirsten. She was on the ISS too. She's an astronaut. But what they give you is really everything you find in the game. You can show them in the laboratory, like here. And if I pick, for example, if I would have picked an engineer, he would be able to do something with this device. One of the easiest ones is like I have a bandages. Sorry, English is not my native tongue, and I can use it to heal Benoit. But as I have, for example, Nikolai as a researcher, and I found an ancient carving, I can ask him to analyze things. But just a complainer, during the E3, he never found something. I don't know why, but it happened like that. It depends on the seat we entered. So maybe GameSpot is a better seat than the seats I use today.
Yeah, it seems like it is.
It is. Actually, he found something. So now I can take a look in the database, and here I have a new quest running. So Tomb Raider quest, Lost Temple in the sector. It's on a rock planet. And all our stories we are writing are really like tiny stories, and the system is stitching them together. So they are branching a lot depending on my decisions. Yeah, so now we are in space. I think one other thing that's really important for us is we wanted to make flying around in space more interesting. And actually, we are a little bit space nerds. And the colleague I founded the company with is a doctor in biology. So we are really we love simulating kind of things. And in the real world, there is a real challenge. And what you see here is a trajectory of our spaceship, and currently the sun is pulling me in. So we have real planetary gravity. And I can use it to my advantage. So yeah, I currently try to go to the next planet, and if I turn around my ship and deaccelerate, then the planetary gravity is pulling me in, and I can do a slingshot. So.
Well, it's amazing that you're using physics that you would find more realistic or practical in your game, where you're actually using gravitational pull and thrusters to kind of get to your actual destination. Is there danger in this? Can you actually die in this area right here?
So what can happen is if I don't maneuver right, then the crew is actually taking over like that, and that damages the ship a little bit. So it's what we don't have in common with other roguelikes is we are not so unforgiving. We want really the player to experience a story and his own story. So we do not have this random like, oh no, you're a dad kind of thing. But yeah, if you go to a black hole, for example, maybe I hope you can see that in the video, but there's a gravity well at the grid, so you can see when, for example, here the sun is pulling me in, and if you have a big black hole, oh, I shouldn't go too close to the sun. That's not good for the ship. And
sounds like it's giving you a lot of warnings as well. There's a lot of visual warnings to let you know when you're getting yourself into some trouble.
Yeah, we wanted to make the interface as slick as possible, so we try to put all the feedback on the science as much in the game as possible. Let's do a jump, because I really want to show where we are at the other side of the galaxy. So now I make a jump.
That looks really good, actually, by the way, also that animation.
Thank you. So here we are in a nebula, and by the way, funny story, the nebulas we are generating out of Hubble telescope pictures. We are here, we can jump around in this nebula.
Wait, this is a real Hubble scope?
Yeah, it's a real Hubble telescope picture. We use a lot of that, for example, for Mars. We also use high definition Mars and moon textures to mix into our planets. It's common source, you can use it, and actually it's much more beautiful than doing it by hand. So
it seems like, I wonder if you have any actual images from NASA and anything else helping you along your way to make this game?
Yeah, that's really. We have also some sounds. They have a sound library you are allowed to use. So we are a little bit like this kind of space nerds. Here, by the way, is the Earth. We have to go there. So this is a galaxy that has, and all that has been generated. So the only two fixed points is the end of the galaxy and the solar system. And now when going there, we have to make the jumps. But if we want to go to the next nebula, we have to go to this big gates here. The gates are occupied by aliens, and so I have to make friends to go there. So I make a jump in the direction. I hope that we can show the gate, because if you like that animation, I'm pretty sure you like the other one much more.
Now, I mean, this kind of seems like a silly question, but I have to ask, what prevents you from just jumping the whole way? I mean, you have to be prevented from just getting there.
That's right. We have the jump drive has only a certain range. Maybe you saw that in the video. There was a circle around that. I can only jump within that range, and that depends a little bit on which ship I have chosen. And then to go to the next nebula, I have to use the gates, and It's not easy to use the gates because they are occupied by aliens.
Okay, and so now how are you getting around that? Are you talking to these people and trying to figure it out? Do you need more resources?
So actually, I try to do favors. So I have to, for example, here there was a distress beacon. Oh shit!
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's why we talked and didn't take a look at the screen. So what happened here is this little guy needed help, and actually he needed help urgently, and he hailed me, and I didn't answer because I was not paying attention.
Is that alien dead now?
This little alien is dead, and that would not raise my reputation. So I think my reputation went down now. So if they have a part of the, if the gate belongs to them, they will be maybe pissed and not let me through. So that was a bad thing. Actually, we should have taken a look at that. So
Let's find another little alien and help someone else out.
Okay, here's another one. But the Elite Tsar is a slavery race. I can spoil that. So they are not the nicest people in the world.
But you still are going to help them because you need to raise your rep. Can you choose not to?
You can choose whatever you want. That's the idea of the game, that you're really free in doing stuff. Like, I just intercepted this one. There's a big ship. I should not. Let's call him. Maybe we keep talking with me. Okay, so this is our dialogue system. We wanted to have this kind of... When I started the game, I wanted to have this feeling of cultural clash of cultures. Like, an Italian guy tries to talk with a Japanese guy and it goes completely wrong. We wanted to have that in the game. So we don't have multiple choice dialogue system. We have a little bit old school kind of... You're gathering words. So, for example, we have this ancient carving and I can ask him about ancient carving. But as you see, he's actually an arrogant prick.
Wait, what did he say?
What about this face makes you think you would care about that?
Well, he's giving you some shit right now.
Yeah, he is. So I can ask about gossip. So maybe he's telling me something about this this part of the galaxy, or I can talk about himself. But it can go wrong. So if I talk, for example, about home, it could mean he could understand I want to talk about my home or his home. So there's always some misconception.
So you basically get snippets of dialogue that you can make the assumption of what it means, but the actual character can make the wrong assumption. And this could also result in really interesting things, like maybe he gets offended by something that you didn't think you were trying to be offensive.
Exactly. We have, for example, there's one race in the game that's easy to be discussed. And if you show them stuff they don't like, they say, "Oh my God, you cannot show that," and stop communication with you. So that's actually the part of the game. You have to figure out how the cultures are and how they react.
That's really fascinating to see. That's like kind of also a true issue with mixing culture, is that you don't know when something is inappropriate or not, and you take those risks when you talk to these people.
Yeah. When we talk, very often we get the question, what do you take for the next run? So actually we do not unlock stuff. So most of the time you unlock knowledge. So next time you play the game and you have the same alien race, you have learned already a little bit how you have to treat with them. We're diving into this planet with no sense, actually. There was a city of the Elite Tsar, but I do not want to talk with them here. Let's see, let's go to a gate. I think the time is really flowing by.
Yeah, let's see if we can make it to a gate before this. I love how you have multiple different types of gameplay mechanics, from floating around in space and trying to make it to the next point, but then you also have the planet side where you're actually maneuvering the ship in a 2D sphere, and then you have communication screens. So it looks like there's a lot to this game, but when you break it down, it's pretty easy to ingest. It's like not too overwhelming here.
Oh, thanks. We tried that, for example, the gameplay is always 2D because we were not eager to have this kind of 3D navigating kind of thing. We wanted to have really about the story, about the characters you have. Here's again the same. So I'm going to a gate just now already.
Watch out for that sun.
Yeah, I should not go over that. The crew is currently talking about the Elite Tsar we just met, so they get more and more dialogue depending on who I met and what I've done. So they give me either hints what to do next.
Do they get angry? Do they get hungry?
They don't get hungry. So we have fuel that's already enough to take care of. So we no oxygen or something like that. So we say that the ship is providing that. We do not want to go to that level of simulation.
Yeah, it seems pretty exhausting to take care of everyone. So you're kind of like letting them take care of themselves, but they do have health meters.
Yeah, they can get parasites or broken arms or so ever, and then I have to take care of them. We can take a look in the quarters. So, for example, Kristen has a whip splash, so I can try to figure out. I can docked on a starport, but unfortunately the starport don't have a shop. I could maybe buy stuff there to heal her. If I would have a doctor, he might be able to do something out of a plant I can find on the surface.
It's almost a little bit Oregon Trail vibes going on here, because you're traveling and trying to make sure everyone survives, but you can't do everything. Sometimes people are going to be sick, and they're just going to have to deal.
That's it. So last week we had a quite of interesting playthrough. Someone were playing the game and he reached Earth with one guy left, and he had broken ribs and parasites. All other 3 characters died, and he was friend with the worst enemy aliens in the universe. And he was sitting there, seeing the credits, and saying, "I'm not sure if it was worth it." So I really liked that, because actually he brought one guy home, but he made a whole mess to the whole universe, and the human mankind was at the end friend with the elites, our slaver races, etc.
That's a really dark ending.
You can have a positive one if you are not too if you for example that's
the gate.
Yeah, we just paid some money here, but there can be bigger stories around the gate. But here, that one, we were lucky. That one, he just wanted some money to transport us to the next part. So yeah, actually. There are a lot of moral choices in the game, so you can meet a race that's attacking you, that's much stronger, and they're offering you to let you go if you give one of your guys to the zoo he is doing. So you have to choose one crew member who's going into the alien zoo.
You're sacrificing your own members?
Actually, that depends on the characters you have. If they respond like, "Yeah, I'm okay, I'm doing it for the team," or if they say like, "No, don't let me go." But
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. We want that you really feel something about the crew, and you to feel something about the aliens, and that's the reason why we put so much effort in that stuff.
How long does a playthrough on average take to get home if you're successful?
Actually, we're currently experimenting a little bit, but it's between 4 and 6 hours, and we can easily make the galaxy much bigger because it's procedure generated, or we can take...
Who's that little guy?
that was a Gluck. That's it. They're called Gluck because they make this little...
Gluck noises?
Yeah, exactly. And... so it's around 4 and 6 hours, and we try to explain. We want to have a good flow of events that are happening. So we either make the galaxy bigger or smaller, or put more stories in it, because not all aliens and stories are in each run. So when you generate the code and start the galaxy, it's only some of them are picked.
But it's up to the player, and the whole point of this is replayability. The idea that every time you play this, you have a completely new experience.
Yeah, and there's super hidden stuff inside, so you only get when you have a certain character and land on a certain planet and have a certain race in it and make a certain decision, and then you find something. So today I found something I even didn't know that's in the game, because we made the little pieces, and then suddenly something happened. I was so excited that during the interview I was like, "Oh wow, what's that?" So I was more into the game than in the interview, actually.
I think it's amazing that you can find things that you've never even seen before in your own game.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's really special.
Well, thank you so much for the demo. Where can people learn more about it? When can they expect to find it and get it and play it themselves?
So we have already a Steam page running. You can take a look there. We have a webpage, tljhgame.com, and we have a Facebook site and Twitter, and PC end of the year, next year, PC, Xbox One and PS4.
Okay, that's The Long Journey Home. It sounds like this is going to be coming out on console and PC very shortly. And do you have a price on that yet?
I don't know it.
It's a mystery for now, but you guys can find out more about that. Thanks a lot, Andreas.